Hi. Today I'm going to review something else, but this time instead of a game, I'm going to do a book. Before I do that, happy Labor Day, everybody. Okay. Anyways, the book that I'm going to review is called So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim. This is part of a series of Disney books called Twisted Tales, and what they are is they take a question and ask a what if, and then it changes. So the question for the Cinderella one, which is what this one is called What If Cinderella Never Tried on the Glass Slipper? I will fully disclose that I am a huge Disney fan. I love almost all of the movies. I have almost all of these Twisted Tale books. I do think that the books are really good, and in most cases, it takes something that happened from the movie, and then it just puts the spin on it with the what if question, but in other cases, it's just completely new. It just depends on which one you're reading and what the question is. Okay, so anyways, this book specifically starts where Cinderella's thinking about the ball, and she actually gets to go because of her fairy godmother, and then walks home, of course, and then Lady Tremaine traps her in a room because she figures out that she went. Well, in the movie, Cinderella gets rescued by the mice. They're helping her. They get the key, and they take it up to her. But in here, instead of that happening, the mice aren't like real people, so they just come out and scurry around her, and she's upset, and she wants them to leave, so they just leave, and she stays locked in her room. That's how it starts, and from there, of course, it's different. She ends up leaving Lady Tremaine's care, if that's what you want to call it. Then she finds a girl in the village, and they become friends, and the girl gets her a job, and then she works at the palace, and she still ends up meeting the prince and all that stuff. That's a general overview of what happens without going into too much detail. There are some weird parts about it, like when Lady Tremaine finds out, she tells Cinderella that she's going to sell her, and that is weird, but due to the frame of time when the story actually takes place, it's kind of common for that stuff to happen. But instead of anything bad happening to her, instead of her actually being able to sell her, Cinderella ends up escaping, and that's how she ends up on her own and away from Lady Tremaine's care. And then she sleeps on the ground in the village, and a lady ends up finding her because she takes the dog Bruno with her, and she takes her to the palace where she ends up getting a job as a servant. And in this book, the prince's name is Charles, and he has an aunt named Genevieve that came back to the castle after being away for so long, which is a whole thing all in itself, of course, but just read the book if you want to know. She ends up being a servant for Genevieve, and later on, the prince realizes that she was the girl that he danced with at the ball the very first time, and they still get there happily ever after. Also in the story, the Grand Duke, who in the movie is a really funny guy and seems to really care, he's pretty evil. He, near the end of the story, does a lot of stuff to try to make sure he stays in power, and he doesn't want the prince to marry any kind of commoner. He thinks that the prince should just marry royalty, and that he should marry to increase their chances of defense and everything else. So he's not a really good dude in the book. It also explores a little bit into Cinderella's godmother, fairy godmother. It's all pretty cool. It isn't like the movie, obviously, but it's still really nice. And Almost every single one of these books that I have read have been really good. So if you're a fan of Disney or fairy tales or what ifs or whatever, I really recommend going and reading them. This is the cover. Okay, that concludes my review for today. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you continue watching. Thank you. Bye.